Should Seattle make a move at interior defensive line? Right now in Dallas, Mazi Smith is, well, frankly, not playing, not happy, and it doesn't sound like the organization or the fan base is happy with him either. Could he be successful in Seattle? We're going to get into that and a little bit more on today's show. Quick, instant gut reaction before you have an opportunity to say something different, to think about anything different, to Google stats, or have any other opinion. Do you want the Seahawks to go and get defensive tackle Mazi Smith from the Dallas Cowboys? If you say yes, type Y in the comment for yes. If you think no, I like the team the way it is, type N in the comments for no. Right now, Mazi Smith is really not a good fit in Dallas. He's on his third year of a 4-year contract. He was a former first-round pick for the Dallas Cowboys, and they thought he was going to come in and really solidify that interior defensive line for the Cowboys. And he's frankly not being that right now. Through one game, he was already a scratch, a healthy scratch at that, when the Cowboys took on the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia in game 1 of this NFL season. It was so bad to the point where Chris Collinsworth on air was calling out Mazi Smith for not being in this game and being a healthy scratch. And I don't know about you, but it takes a lot for Chris Collinsworth to come out and say, hey, a player needs to step up and needs to change how they're playing. Our own Chat Sports host, Tom Downey, in his overreaction after the game, made a video and a segment where he talked about Mazi Smith no longer being on the Dallas Cowboys. And that's where I got my kind of ideas rolling, my juices flowing. Would Seattle be able to do something with him? I've seen from a couple of the Twitter fingers is what we're going to call it, Seattle Seahawks fans. They have said, hey, Seattle could use Mazi Smith and they could use him to build into something. The more and more I thought about it, I thought, hey, maybe he would be a good fit. But why would he be a good fit here in Seattle? We're going to talk about that right after today's sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on a 2 to 6 player stat projection. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't exactly perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. I was playing Prize Picks this weekend. Trust me, I should have used the flex play option. This weekend, I'm already looking ahead to our Seattle Seahawks and their game against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. Cooper Kupp, I think he's going to have a revenge game after struggling in the last one. 37.5 yards, he's getting more. The Steelers, you think that they're going to do well against this vaunted Seahawks defense? They're going to punt more than 4 times. And Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's got to find pay dirt at some point. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. So here's the deal with Mazi Smith. The potential is limitless. He is a former first-round pick. He's a Michigan Wolverine. He was fantastic in college. An absolute game wrecker. Since he's been in the NFL, his 2 years, the answer is kind of meh. So when you look at Mazi Smith's stats from last year, you're going to say, hey, an interior defensive lineman that's getting over 40 tackles in a game, that's fantastic. But a lot of people, a lot of experts, a lot of those in the PFF communities are upset with his explosive stats. They don't like that he's only had 1 sack last year. In their eyes, for him to be a first-round pick, he should be more of a game wrecker. It's a lot of similar complaints that you saw in Seattle last year about Byron Murphy, right? Byron Murphy comes in and you are told, hey, this guy might be the best defensive player, not just defensive lineman, but best defensive player in this draft. And Byron Murphy was fine last year. He was good. He was the type of player that you would be happy with his performance if he was a 3rd-round pick. If he was a 4th-round pick, you'd be ecstatic. If he's a day 3 guy, you are calling the newspapers, you're calling your friends, you're saying, we got a diamond in the rough, we got a steal. But because he was a first-round pick, it was disappointing for you. It's the same thing with Mazi Smith. Now, Mazi Smith has not come into training camp, well, the way that he should. He's already gotten beaten out for the position. Osa has been absolutely dominating there in Dallas. And the other thing with Mazi is when you're a healthy scratch, that means that your team is saying, we'd rather have you not play despite the injuries. And it's not like their interior defensive line is all that healthy right now. When I look in Seattle's team, you have a interior defensive lineman that was supposed to help a lot this year in Jonathan Hankins. Well, right now, he's on the non-football injury reserve list. So what the issue with Hankins is he has a bad back. And the reason you're able to put him on the non-injury football reserve list is because the injury that he suffered happened before training camp started. He would be a player along with Riley Mills that would be contributing on this interior defensive line. Now, I was not upset with how the interior defensive line played in his absence against the 49ers. Leonard Williams was flying around, almost had double-digit tackles. Byron Murphy had a couple TFLs. Jarran Reed is always a stud. Dude is opening up holes for guys like DeMarcus Lawrence, Boye Mafe to come free and make big-time plays. If Jonathan Hankins comes back, he can add to that list. We already know that Riley Mills, he'll probably be back middle of the season, still recovering from that torn ACL. Hankins was brought in to be another veteran presence. He's a guy who's been in the NFL for quite some time. He's a guy who's had a lot of success in the NFL, and he's a guy, as a backup, that you would love to have on that interior defensive line because he's going to produce. Now, if you're expecting him to be a starter, which Seattle is not expecting him to do, you'd be a little disappointed. But again, he's a veteran. He can help Jarran Reed because we know that Jarran Reed at times, he's been known to fly off the handle. He's a guy who can help teach Byron Murphy the ins and the outs of that interior defensive line play that you just don't understand until you play for multiple years. But as I look through his last 4 seasons, in my eyes, there's a common theme with Hankins. He gets hurt. He misses time. He's already going to miss 4 games this year with a back injury. And guess what? When you have a back injury and you're in the offensive or defensive line, you don't magically get better. Now couple in the fact that Hankins is in his 30s. Couple in the fact that Hankins, again, has had injury issues and he's not going to be your main guy. Maybe there's room to go and look at a Mazi Smith. Now, I do want to say that the mindsets do matter. If Jonathan Hankins is coming in every single day and he's working on getting himself better and preparing and he's helping be that leader, that teacher to the younger players, even guys like Jared Ivey or Connor O'Toole, helping push them forward, well then shoot, Jonathan Hankins is the guy. Keep him. Don't cut him when he comes off of the non-football injury reserve list. Keep him around. That's a good type of player that you want to have. If Mazi Smith just needs a change of scenery, though, I'll tell you right now, I'm pretty darn intrigued. You're telling me I can get a former first-round pick who, if it's just, hey, he's got a bad mindset, he doesn't like what's going on in Dallas, you can get him into this Mike Macdonald system? Watch out. Guess who had a good year in this Mike Macdonald system on that interior defensive line last year? Leonard Williams. Matabike did the year before when Mike Macdonald was in Baltimore. You're telling me that Mazi Smith can't get excited to go from Dallas to play for Mike Macdonald, a coach who helps elongate the careers and show signs of peak years for defensive linemen? You're telling me that that wouldn't interest Mazi Smith? If it's simply just a Mazi Smith is done with Dallas, in my eyes, make the trade for him. Now, I wouldn't offer more than a day 3 pick. In my eyes, there's not a lot of trade value here. Think of it similar to the San Francisco 49ers trade for Sky Moore, right? The 49ers trade with the Chiefs. They get Sky Moore. They get a 7th-round pick, and they swap back a 6th-round pick. Essentially, they're making a pick swap like in the NBA, but they're also getting a player that the other team was probably going to get rid of. Sounds like right now, from my research, by research I mean DMing Tom Downey, it sounds like Mazi Smith is not well liked in Dallas, and they're ready to move on. So if you're telling me I can get Mazi Smith for a 7th-round pick, and I can get him to perform at the same level that he played at last year as a backup type rotational guy, I'm pretty darn happy, especially with a guy like Mazi Smith, where the upside is to the umpth degree. Think about it. Jonathan Hankins is on the wrong side of 30. Mazi Smith, he hasn't even hit 25 yet. It's more expensive for him right now to rent a car than to Uber if he travels to a new city. In fact, I don't know if they'll let him rent a car right now. So if you're telling me this, man, I would love to have Mazi Smith in Seattle. But you have to be smart. I can't emphasize this enough. Jerry Jones is clearly making some trades. He can be a bit of a wild card. If you make the right decision and you trade for Mazi Smith for the right price, I think this is a foolproof idea and it's completely safe. What's the worst thing that happens? What if he doesn't pan out? Oh, well, you lost a 7th rounder for him. You got other guys on your team. I get it. Peely's been fine, but you didn't bring him up. He's on the practice squad right now because you don't believe that he's going to take the next step forward. Quentin Bohanna, same type of deal. You called him up in the last game against the 49ers. You can only do that 2 more times. Maybe the move is to go with Mazi Smith. And maybe the move is also to let go of some other players that you have on your roster right now that, frankly, they're just not cutting it. That interior defensive line is strong if the first 3 guys stay healthy. But guess what people never do on the interior defensive line? They never stay freaking healthy. You need more options. I'd say go after Mazi Smith for the right price. Join the crew. I know you love the Seattle Seahawks. Otherwise, this video would not pop up on your For You page. You would not be searching out Seahawks content if you didn't love your Seattle Seahawks, if you weren't a true 12, if you didn't bleed blue and green. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. We've got Seahawks videos coming out every single day just for you. And not only are they going to inform you about what's going on with the latest with your Seattle Seahawks, they're also going to entertain you because producer Colin and I, we love to have fun here on Seahawks Today. So make sure you subscribe. Until next time, I'll see you later.